So, what is this?
You know what that is. That's your MuVit digital dual feed foot.
Does that replace my this?
Well, it certainly is its big brother, isn't it? No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
Oh, that's
You
bad.
better not put that in there.
He will.
Okay, so this is going to work essentially because you have the belt that's here. Can you see that in the middle? That's what's going to actually have contact with your fabric, and it's going to pull the fabric through on the top, so it's pulling through at the same rate as what's going through in the bottom.
Okay, so
Now,
how is that different from my walking foot?
Because in the settings screens, you can change the rate of this belt. So if you have your two layers together not staying together, you can actually change the rate of that belt so that you can come up with a number that's going to work to keep things relational to each other.
Okay.
All right. So it is a little bit bigger, but all your buttons on the machine work the same way when it's on.
Okay.
You can see when you plug it in that on your screen it has a DF by the foot, so you know you have the dual feed foot plugged in. And by plugged in, I mean in the back of the machine here, there's actual connection. See if I pull it out, you can see here.
Right, it
And now it doesn't say dual feed. When you put it in, it
says
re-engages,
DF.
it's good to go.
Okay.
Okay, so then all your stitches that are available to that foot are now highlighted. The ones you cannot use are grayed out, so you, again, can't break anything.
Okay.
So you just pick whatever stitch you want to use, and the best part is you can use this in conjunction with the laser guide light.
Well, that's sort of what I would want to do here, right?
Kind of figured.
I
So,
mean,
yes.
for what I picked. And what I was thinking is that one of the things that I often do is I switch to a single hole throat plate when I'm doing my quilting.
Well, then the good news is it's included in your box.
Well,
So
that was my next question.
all right, there you go.
Okay, so I'm going to show you how I do my straight stitching because I do it with a combination of short stitches and long stitches.
Okay.
So I'm going to hand me one of those pens right there.
This.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. So what I'm going to do is, just to show you how I do this, is I set it up so that I start about 1/4 of an inch before the seam actually starts.
Okay.
And I do that with a really tiny stitch, with a 0.8 millimeter stitch. And I go backwards for that 7 or 8 stitches it takes to get back there. Then I go forward with my regular size stitch, and I use a 2.5 millimeter. And then when I get to the end, I go all the way to the end, and then I go backwards again for that 0.8 millimeter stitch.
Okay.
Now, why I do that is that secures the ends really well. I've found that the securing stitches on the machine often come out, or they make knots on the back, and so I really like this added security. So I'm going to show you how I set it up on the screen. So I use stitches on the Brother machine. I use stitches 1.03 and 104.
Okay.
And 103 is my short stitch because it does go in reverse.
Correct.
And so how I set up the 1.03 is I leave the needle position the same, and especially I'm using a straight single hole throat plate here. So I want to make sure I don't mess with my needle position. But then I drop the length down to 0.8, and then I save it into memory. Then my 04, that's the stitch I use when I'm just going straight, no reverse. So I didn't need to make any alterations to that. But why I use the 2 is that I can toggle back and forth instead of having to make those length adjustments all the time.
Well, it's nice then that the memory holds for you, so you can just talk.
Yes.
Alrighty.
Yes, yes, yes. But I always set that up first. Now I thought what we could do is play with this and also with the lacer at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Because you said I could.
Because even though this dual feed foot is on, the MuVit foot, you can still turn the laser guide line to help you guide you where you're going to use this, be stitching with this foot on.
Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the laser guide, and I want it to, let's see, I think I'll set it this way because then I can just move it over. Let's go a couple more. There we go, perfect. So it should be right in line with the needle. So that way I figured, my thinking was, is that that would help me hit those points perfectly without having to mark them.
There you go.
That's the whole idea, is not
huge
having
time
to
saver
mark,
again. Yep. Okay.
right? Okay, and since I've got the needle up-down programmed on the front of my pedal, I can just bring my needle down, bring it up, and then grab the bobbin thread. Go backwards with my little bitty stitch. And then I trim right there. What did I do with my scissors?
I got it.
See, I leave my stuff everywhere.
Oh, we all do.
That's why I have the piggiest sewing room in the world. Okay. Then I'm going to go to stitch 4. Oops. There we go. Of course, I have to be paying attention to the lacer, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, look at that. I think I'm liking this. Every time I take my hands off, I have to remember to shift it back.
But you can see how it's keeping your layers even for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, do you think if I aim this about a 1/4 inch up, that should come just inside the binding,
Correct.
and then I can pivot, correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
That's my thought. Oh yeah. One more.
There you go.
And then I want to end again so I can show you how I do that.
Now, just curious, do quilters ever do this type of quilting with a small, narrow decorative stitch instead of a straight stitch? I'm just asking because I don't know.
I don't know. I've seen some art quilts done like that.
I just didn't know. Truly, I didn't know if they did that way, or do they do multiple parallel rows of this on the diagonal through the squares, or do they leave it with one diagonal stitch?
I think it depends on the quilt, and I think everybody does things differently. So I don't think there's one good positive answer for that.
That's
What do you think?
no, that's
I
understandable
mean,
to me.
how would you use this?
Well,
Need to go one more
me, I'd probably break every rule there was. So
I'll just go to the edge here and then end it off. So, because otherwise I'll wind up doing all kinds.
so then you do the backwards thing.
So-
You do the opposite how you started.
Generally, except that here I'm going to break my rule.
Okay.
Okay. Because when I get here, this is going to be in the binding, so I
Okay.
might as well switch to my smaller stitch and just go
Go
forward.
forward. There we go.
And that'll end it. But I like the way, well, let's look at what it looks like. I like the way the lacer, we hit the points,
Sure.
and it doesn't look like we got any kind of
There's no puckering.
pushing or
It's all pulling.
puckering.
No, it's still level.
I think I'm liking that.
There you go.
Okay.
Awesome.